Hello, my awesome audience. You're welcome back to this channel. My name is Helen, and in today's video, we'll be deploying an e-commerce website to Microsoft Azure. Okay, so this is the e-commerce a website over here. You basically have women and men clothing, including children, and you have accessories. Okay, so it is a platform where you come and shop, add things to your cart, and yeah, so they have beautiful dresses, very pretty attires and all that. Okay, so want to deploy this because the focus area is basically to deploy a website that is scalable, fault tolerant, and highly available so that it can actually withstand disruptions and always be available for our customers who really want to give our customer a better user experience. So we want this to always be available, fault tolerant, and highly scalable. All right, even during peak seasons and all, it will be highly scalable in order to meet the demand of depending on the traffic at that point. Okay, so this video will be very interesting, and this is actually a beginner's project. Okay, so even if you've not done anything in Azure before, if you just have like a little experience, I believe this project will give you some experience on how to use some set of resources in Azure to deploy this website. So ensure you watch this to the end. I'll also use a form of automation in deploying this because I actually wanted to use Terraform, but we are not using Terraform because I believe there are some beginners that don't know Terraform yet. All right, so I actually want everyone to participate in this. Maybe we can actually dive deep into Terraform later, but I want everyone to basically know how to do this via Azure portal, which is actually the starting point. All right, so I'll also show you the resources that we'll be making use of in this project. First of all, we'll be creating a virtual network with subnet. Okay, and as you know, a virtual network is like the backbone of your infrastructure. It will provide you with a secure and isolated environment for your resources. Okay, so this will also ensure that our website data remains protected. Secondly, we'll be creating a virtual machine skill set. Okay, and a virtual machine skill set will basically contain multiple instances of this application or website. Okay, so this will ensure that our website will remain online even if one of the instances experiences issues along the line. And guess what, will also enable auto scaling. Auto scaling will basically ensure that our website can handle varying load effortlessly, and during high demand or during peak seasons when demand will be so high, it can be able to scale automatically. All right. And next, I would like us to use application gateway as well, which is actually a type of load balancer in Azure. Azure actually has load balancing services, and there are up to 4 here, but we'll be making use of application gateway. So application gateway will help us to it's like a smart traffic hub that routes incoming requests to our instances. So our instances that will be in the virtual machine skill set, application gateway can actually help to route traffic across those servers. Okay, so that means that users can access our website with a simple URL, or you can actually also use your domain name to let users access your website. Okay, so this will basically ensure that it will basically ensure efficient load balancing. All right, so yeah, so at the end of this video, you should be able to create an e-commerce or deploy an e-commerce website that is not just functional but also highly available and scalable. Before we proceed, I would really appreciate you if you like or give me a thumbs up. Okay, okay, I will highly recommend you subscribe to my channel and also click on the notification bell so you get updates, all right, whenever I publish a new video. Now we can get started. So let's get started with creating our virtual network. And this is virtual network here. You can as well type it here, virtual network, and you see it here. So I'll click on it. So this is a create button. I'll click on that to create, to bring up a page where we'll configure our network. So this is my subscription is already selected, and for the resource group, we'll be creating a new resource group, and I'll call it app deploy RG, and I'll click OK. All right. So this resource group will basically contain all our resources, all right, for this application or for deployment of this e-commerce platform. And this is where we'll give name to our virtual network. So I'll just name it app vnet, and then we can make use of ECUS. That's fine. And I'll click on next. Okay, coming over here, I'm seeing Azure Bastion host. Okay, so for this tutorial, we're not making use of a Bastion host, but if you're doing this for production, or if it's not like a side project for yourself, you can go ahead to make use of a Bastion host if you want, but we are not making use of that in this video. It is basically for security. All right, so going down, okay, I'm not basically making use of any stuff here, but I want to also show you, if you are very like, if security is very important to you, you can also go ahead to enable this Azure Firewall. Okay, you can enable Azure Firewall, and you can as well enable DDoS network protect. It basically depends on your requirement. You can also enable DDoS and network protection feature here. Okay, this will basically protect you against DDoS attack for your website. Next, and for these IP addresses, this is where we give the this is where we configure the address space for our virtual network. So I already have this because I have another VNet configured in this configured in my account. So I would like to use this 10.1.0.0/16. Okay, so this is what I would like to use as my address space. And coming to subnet, I'll basically remove the subnet I have here. I'll be adding a new subnet. Okay, so to add a subnet, I'll basically name this app deploy subnet. Okay, and the starting address over here should be, yeah, it is actually fine. So this is okay, and we can make use of that. The subnet size, we should be using /24 because this will give us 256 IP addresses. Okay, and we're not making use of a NAT gateway, so we are good with this. I'll just click on add, and I'll click next. Okay, let's tag vnet, or I can say app, sorry, deploy vnet. All right, so I'll click on review and create, and it will run the validation, and if everything is okay, we'll then go ahead to create our virtual network. Okay, validated, so I'll click on create, and now it is deploying our virtual network in our resource group. Okay, let's give this a moment and we'll go over to the next step. So I'm gonna be pausing this video, and I believe in a minute it should be able to deploy successfully. Took only 30 seconds, and the deployment is complete. I'll click on go to resources. Okay, so yeah, our VNet is ready to go to. So over here we have our subnet. You can basically just um click around to ensure that you have your subnet. This is the address space that we configured. And now that this is ready, let's go over to our virtual machine skill set. So on this search bar, I'll type virtual, or I can actually just type skill set, and you can see virtual machine skill set. And what does this virtual machine skill set means? What is the function? How are we making use of that instead of just creating a virtual machine? Okay, I'll explain. In Azure, this virtual machine skill set is basically a service that will allow you to deploy and manage a group of identical virtual machines. So by making use of virtual machine skill set, it will automatically adjust the number of virtual machine instances, okay, based on demand. Okay, so let's say you're just new to this and you just deploy your e-commerce website. Tomorrow you can actually have the demand, or the traffic demand in your website can actually increase. Okay, and if you're just making use of ordinary virtual machine, you might be very concerned about how you can go ahead to to scale that servers automatically. But make use of virtual machine skill set. Once you enable auto scaling, you can actually let virtual machine skill set handle automatic deployment of more instances. Okay, so this is just like ensure high availability. It is a high availability solution to basically ensure that your application can handle varying workloads by automatically adding or removing virtual machines. So it is not just all about adding more instances when the demand is high. It can also decrease the number of servers you have when the demand is very low. Okay, so yeah, so let's go ahead to create this virtual machine skill set. I've clicked on create, and this is a page to basically configure all that we want. My Azure subscription is already selected. I'll select the resource group that we created for this. This is it here. And so ensure you're using one resource group, because I want us to basically deploy all this in one resource group. So coming to virtual machine skill set name, I will name this VM skill set, or I can say app VM skill set. And the region we can actually use is ECUS. Yeah, ECUS. And the availability zone, for high availability, I would like to make use of zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. You can make yours too, okay, but this is for high availability. This will basically help to like deploy instances in various availability zones for us, because having one availability zone or making use of one availability zone is very risky. What if something happens to that availability zone? It means that your website will go down. We don't want that to happen. So coming down over here, if you're making use of virtual machine skill set, there are two options when it comes to orchestration. You can make use of flexible or uniform, okay, and you have the division of this one. So we can make use of flexible. With this one we can achieve high availability at scale with identical or multiple virtual machine types. City type, let's go ahead and make use of trusted launch virtual machines, and that is fine. And this is where we'll now select the OS that we want. Okay, let's go with Ubuntu Server 22.04 LTS. Right, and architecture is fine. So coming over here, you basically need to know the size of your, so if you're watching this video a real life scenario, you want to deploy your website, you need to like know the size that you can actually use, okay, to start with. and I want us to make use of this. You can also click on see all sizes, okay, so that you see the sizes. You can basically read about VM sizes to enable you choose the right size. So I want us to go with this. This will give us 1 or 2 CPUs and 8 GB of RAM. Right, I'll select it, and you can see the monthly charge is $70.08. Okay, and then coming over to authentication type, or let's use password. I'll type my name as the username, a password. Okay, and then I'll click next. Coming to sports, we're not basically making use of this. I'll click next for disk configuration. Okay, so for disk size, this one is actually 30 GB, is very fine. For OS disk type, this one actually gives us a better performance, so let's go with this. And going forward, let's go to networking, and this is where we'll now select the virtual network that we've created, app vnet. Okay, and coming over to the network interface, so we have our subnet over here, okay, and that is fine. That is the custom subnet we created. Okay, coming to load balancing, we'll be making use of application gateway, right? We'll be making use of application gateway, and I don't want us to create that now. I would like us to create that later, right? And then attach it to our virtual machine skill set. So let's choose none for now, and coming to scaling. And when it comes to scaling, how do we want to carry out the scaling? How do we want virtual machine skill set to carry out the manual scaling or automatic scaling for us? So here we can scale in, we can scale out. All right, so initial instance count I would like us to start with is 2. Okay, and for the scaling policy, I would like us to use a custom scaling policy. And so custom will basically give you automatic scaling, while manual will give you the option to do it yourself. So let's go with custom. Okay, and coming to minimum number of instances, the minimum number of instances we like to see running is 1. Okay, so when the traffic is very low, the minimum for now that I want to use is 1. So at any point in time, even if there is no one trying to access our website, it should ensure that it is running 1 instance at any point, even when traffic is low. And the maximum number of instances we want it to have, let me use 5. Okay, so even if the whole world is trying to access this website, because of our budget, I would like it to just stick to 5. I don't want VM skill set to scale it to more than 5 instances. Okay, so this is my own requirement, so you need to follow or basically check your budget or your requirement. That will enable you to set this up according to the requirement. So the CPU threshold, so this is where we basically configure how we want this to scale out. Scaling out is to add more instances, so it should monitor, and once it sees that the CPU threshold of our instances are now 75%, and it is up to 10 minutes that is in this threshold, it should add or increase the number of our instance by 1. Okay, yeah, so this basically means that at any point in time where an instance is having this 75% threshold, the CPU is 75% threshold, and it has lasted up to 10 minutes, that this VM scale set should add 1 more instance. For us, it should increase the instance by 1. Okay, so yeah, and coming over to this place, how do we want it to scale in for us? Scaling in is like decreasing. to decrease the number of instances. So if when the demand is low and it monitors and sees that the CPU threshold is 25%, remember you can actually customize this to however you want it, but I'm leaving it at 25%. So if the number of instances is up to if the CPU threshold is 25% for 10 minutes, all right, we're making use of this for 10 minutes, it should decrease the number of instance by 1. It should just remove 1 instance, all right, but at any point in time it should ensure that minimum of 1 server or instance is available so that our application will still be accessible. Okay, so this is just the explanation to this scale out and scaling we have here. And I'll go over to management. So coming to this management, I don't want to enable this boot diagnostics. I'll just disable it. Okay, and okay, so coming over to health, I'll click on health. You can as well enable application health monitoring. Okay, so this application health monitoring extension will probe the application health endpoints and then update the status of the application for you. Yeah, but I'm not making use of that, so let's go over to advanced configuration. So over here I would like us to enable user data. So basically it will be this user data will help us to automatically update our instances and then install the install Apache web server and then deploy this application for us. We don't need to SSH and manually run all this stuff in our instances. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that and paste that over here and I'll explain. Okay, so this is the user data we'll be making use of, and this user data, to start with, I need to add a shebang here. Okay, so to explain what this script is all about, to start with, this command sudo apt-get update will basically update the package list for the system package manager. Okay, just to ensure that the system has the latest information about available software packages and their versions. And then we come to the second line. This one is sudo apt-get install Apache 2. This will basically install the Apache HTTP server on the instances, and this the white flag here is just to automatically say yes when there is a prompt to continue with the installation. So we'll not be there, we just want it to say yes to continue with the installation. And then we'll be creating for the mkdir web-dir. This just like creates a directory. Okay, it will create a directory for us, and this directory will be named web-dir. Okay, this is just to be this will be used to store the web files. All right, and then we'll change directory to the web directory. Okay, so once we switch to this directory that will be created over here, then the next thing is to download the website. Okay, we'll download the website. So the website is like a zip file. It's basically making use of a free e-commerce template. That is free CSS template for this. But if you have your e-commerce website that you have in your, say, your GitHub or any repository, you can just get the zip URL and paste it here. Okay, to replace this with yours. We can go ahead and make use of mine if you're just practicing. Okay, so this will basically download that from this specified URL, and then once you download it, the name will be hexashop.zip. Okay, and we basically need to unzip this hexashop.zip, but before we unzip it, this line will help us to install a zip tool that can now help us to unzip it. So this line is to unzip it. After installation of zip tool, this line will help us to unzip it, and after unzipping we want to switch to this directory, because after unzipping, if you were doing this manually in your instances, you see that after unzipping it, you see this file. Okay, you see this directory basically. So want to switch to that directory, and that is where our application code or website files are stored. So from this directory, we want to run this command sudo move. Is basically to move whatever we have in this directory to this /var/www/html. Okay, and what is this all about? So this is just this is typically the default Nginx page, the default web server root directory, okay, for Apache. And then after moving those files to this default Apache root directory, we want to switch to that. Okay, so once we switch to this, it should be from this directory, we should be able to now run sudo systemctl enable apache 2 in order to enable Apache web server. And once that is enabled, we like to start the Apache web server, and that is it. Okay, and yeah, so that is it for this user data. And then let's go ahead, click on tags. Okay, let me tag this name app VM skill set. Okay, and let's go ahead and then review this, and if you validate that, we'll go ahead to create this virtual machine skill set. Okay, validated. So let's go ahead and create it. Okay, so after like it's almost 2 minutes, I could see that the deployment is complete, and now I'll click on go to resource, and yeah, our VM skill set is ready. I would like us to view the instances. Click on it, and these are the two instances. That is the initial count that we configured. So here I have two virtual machine running inside this VM skill set. So basically this VM skill set will help us to either increase or decrease the instances based on the traffic that will be coming into our website. All right, so right now let's go over to creating application gateway in order to help to distribute traffic across the servers we have over here. So let's search for application gateway. Okay, it shows up here already, so I'll click on this. And remember, like I've explained earlier, this is a load balancer service in Azure that enables you to manage and control traffic to your web applications or to your website. Okay, also provide features such as SSL termination, URL based routing, session affinity, and more. Okay, so in order to get started with this, let's click on create application gateway. So here the subscription is already selected, and I'll be selecting the resource group we created earlier. And then application gateway name, I would like to name this app gateway. Okay, and for the region East US, we are making use of the same region, please take note. And for the tier, so basically you can make use of different tier here, standard v2. You can actually read more to understand different tiers here. Okay, just to save our time, let's make use of standard v2. Enable auto scaling, yes. So want this application gateway to be able to also auto scale, and minimum instance count is 1, maximum instance count should be 2. So this is also to ensure high availability, because we don't want anything to happen to this application gateway. We want it to auto scale, all right, in order to be able to serve our or distribute traffic across our servers. And for the availability zone, I'll also be selecting 3 availability zones. And okay, for the HTTP2, I'll disable HTTP2. And then over here I will be selecting the virtual network. So this is the same VNet we've been using. So over here, in order to go ahead with the network requirement for application gateway, we need to create another subnet, because we can't basically use the same subnet that we've used for our VM skill set for application gateway load balancer. Okay, so they actually require the application gateway have its own dedicated subnet. So I'll click on manage subnet configuration here. Let's create a new subnet for our application gateway. So I'll click on subnet and I'll name this app gateway subnet. Okay, the subnet address range is actually fine, yeah, because we have this already. So we'll be using 10.1.1.0/24. And yeah, that is just all we need to do here. No much configuration. We're not using NAT gateway, so I'll click on add. Okay, successfully added. All right, so let's go back to, I'll click on create application gateway to go back to the page, and I'll then select the new subnet. All right, so let's go to front end IP configuration. So once you click next, you see this page, and we are basically making use of the public IP address type, and because this will be public serving. And then the public IP address, we can actually just create a new public IP address for this. So I'll say app gateway IP, and I'll click OK. So this public IP address is basically the address that the application gateway will listing on. Okay, so you are free to configure multiple front-end IP configuration to support multiple domains or subdomain, but we are cool with this, right? So let's go to backend. Once you click next, see this page, and this is where we'll now configure our backend address pool. So what does this mean? We can actually define a set of backend servers or virtual machines that the application gateway will route traffic to. So since we have our virtual machine skill set that actually contain our instances running our application, we now need to add these instances or the VM skill set into this backend pool, so the application gateway can route traffic to those instances or distribute traffic to those instances. Okay, so I need to click on add a backend pool, and over here let me just name it backend pool. Just say app backend pool. Okay, add backend pool without target. I'll say no, because I want to add target here. And here we can click on, if you click on VM skill set, this will not really show. So let's click on the virtual machine, so that I'll be able to select the instances running in the VM skill set. So I'll select this, and then I'll click on this again to select. I'm just seeing one VM here. Okay, so I think it has scaled down. Okay, so let me duplicate this page I've duplicated this portal so that I'll check the virtual machine skill set to ensure that I basically want to find out how many instances are running currently, because I'm just seeing one VM skill set, and go to instances. Okay, so it has actually scaled down, or sorry, I'm using that word scale. It has actually, so in Azure you use this word, it has actually scaled in, meaning that it has reduced the instance by one. Okay, because it was basically idle and the threshold was around 25% or below 25%. I want to edit the scaling because I want you to see this in action. So I want to edit the scaling that we've configured over here. Okay, so I'll go to scaling, and if I scroll down, I'll go to for the minimum, I want to use 2 here. I want to use 2 so that at any point in time we should have 2 instances running. Okay, the maximum should be 5. So I'll just save this. I could have just gone ahead with 1, but like I just want you to have a feel of this on how it works. So this will basically scale up. It will just pin up 1 server right now. So let me go back to instances, and let's give it a moment to come up. Okay, you can see it is creating, it is adding 1 server right now. Give it a moment to finish creating this. And now this is up and running. Okay, so let me go back to the page where we were to continue with this. So let me see. So let me just cancel this. So okay, sorry, let me close this the backend pool, and I'll click on add it again. Okay, so app gateway backend pool, and here virtual machine, I'll select the first one here. Okay, and coming over here, I'll select virtual machine, and I'll select the second instance. Okay, so as you can see, they are not the same, and so these are the 2 instances we have in our virtual machine skill set. And yeah, so now I'll click on add, and this has been added to our backend pool. Correct. So right now let's go to the next configuration, and we've configured this, we've configured the backend pool. Now we need to configure the routing rules. Okay, what is routing rule when it comes to application gateway? So routing rule basically will help us to define how incoming traffic should be routed to the backend pool. All right, so this will also include defining conditions based on the host name, the path, and other URL attributes. Okay, so with this, you can as well route traffic to different backend pool based on the URL path. So I'll just name this route rule or whatever priority. I'll just give 1 as a priority. In case you don't know what priority means, you can just hover your mouse on this stuff, on this icon here, and it will show you that rule priority defines the order in which the rule are processed. Okay, the priority should be between 1 and 20,000. 1 represents the highest priority, so that's why it shows 1. And listener name, you can just give it my listener. Okay, front-end IP is public, and the protocol we're using here is HTTP. We are not making use of HTTPS. It's actually beyond is beyond the scope of this tutorial. You can actually so where I've used certificate manager or SSL certificate is in AWS. Okay, so you can actually see that video. It can actually give you idea on how to go about using HTTPS. Okay, I don't want us to go into deploying a certificate now, because this video will just get too long doing that. So but please, if this is production, or yeah, your real world e-commerce website, please go with HTTPS. This is just to give you a secured website. Okay, and then yeah, so I'll click on backend target, and over here we're using a backend pool and it's selected. And for the backend target, we need to just select it. And for the backend setting, you can just hover your mouse and read what it means. So backend setting defines the behavior of this rule for communication with the backend target. Okay, I can just click on add new, and to ask me backend setting name, backend set, whatever. And yeah, I'll just leave all this as default, and I'll click on add. Okay, so coming back over here, the backend setting has been added, the one I just created, and that is basically all I need here. You can as well add multiple targets, to create a path-based rule. And yeah, you can also have more than one rule. Okay, we are good. I'll just click on add, and it has been added. So we've satisfied the requirement to add front-end IP, routing rules, and backend pools. All right, so I'll click on tags, and I don't necessarily need to tag this. Okay, I'll just click on review so that it can validate the whole configuration, and we can review and then create. So it basically depends on your security requirements. There is what we call WAF, web application firewall, that can be used as well. So the security is not just to use SSL if you want to go ahead with that, but it basically depends on how secure you want your web or your e-commerce website to be. All right, so everything is actually looking fine by me. I'll just click on create. I'll be pausing this video and I'll come back once it deploys successfully. Thank you, and please, if you're enjoying this video so far, kindly click on that thumbs up. Just give me a thumbs up to encourage me in order to keep producing quality video for you guys. Okay, and also comment to share your feedback if you're enjoying this video. Also subscribe and click on that notification bell so you get updates, you get notified each time I publish a new video. Thank you. I could see that the deployment is complete, so let's click on go to resource, and this is the application gateway. Okay, I'll click on this, and yeah, so we now have to test. But before I actually go ahead to test it with the front end IP address, I will need to check the let me go to VM skill set. So coming to the application VM skill set, all right, I want to ensure that the website was actually deployed successfully. So I'll just click on one, and then we'll check with the public IP address. So here I'll just copy the public IP address so that we can check that out on the browser. But we also need to enable the network security group. Okay, we need to add our inbound rule so that we can access that. I'll just scroll down to click on this network interface. Okay, so we can access the network security group. All right, so this is the network security group. I'll click on it. And for the inbound security group rule, I'll click here so we can add. So I'll just click on add here so that we can add the rule. The source should be from any, and also like to say that this actually depends on your requirement. Okay, you may need to restrict incoming traffic from specific IP address ranges and all that. So I'll just give this port 80, and that's all I need to do here. I'll just click on add. So if you're using SSL certificate, remember to add 443 inbound rule. All right. Okay, so it has been added, and now we can go back. So let me go back to VM skill set and then copy the public IP address. I'll scroll up to copy it over here. Paste it, press enter, and you can see we successfully deployed this. Okay, and our instance is saying that we've successfully deployed this e-commerce website. So now, right now, you can go ahead to add things to cart, browse, and check out your favorite clothing and all that, your accessories. But don't expect this to work that way, because it's just a template. But this is basically the way to get it done when you have your own e-commerce platform to deploy. So I want to go back to, let's go to application gateway. It's my app gateway. Open it, and okay, so I'll go to front-end IP configurations, and this is the IP. Okay, this is the IP address. So let's go to the browser and paste this. Is on port 80, so I don't really need to explicitly define or add this port 80, since this is the default ports for our browser. And as you can see, we're able to use the front-end IP of our application gateway to access our e-commerce platform. Okay, so our website is up and running. If you have a domain name, or you want to go ahead and get yourself a domain name, you can actually map this public IP address to your domain name, because users are not really meant to use IP address, obviously. So you need to have a domain name so that they can access your website, or maybe www.tech.com, stuff like that. So now what happens, this application gateway is working as a load balancer, and it will help to distribute traffic across the instances we have in our virtual machine skill set. It doesn't really matter how many instances we have over there, it will just help to distribute traffic to those instances. It just to ensure that one instance is not overwhelmed with much or large number of traffic coming into it. It to ensure that the load are equally distributed, so no instance is suffering and the other one is idle. Okay, so yeah, that is the work of application load balancer, and it also depends on the configuration, the routing rules, and all those stuffs. And yeah, so here comes the end of this video, and I've successfully shown you how you can deploy a highly available and scalable e-commerce website on Azure. Okay, if you have any question, feel free to drop it on the comment section. Please give me a thumbs up, or if you like this video, all right, and subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell so you get notified each time I publish a new video. This is best channel when it comes to cloud computing and DevOps, so ensure I'll recommend you subscribe. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna see you in my next video, and before you go, please destroy this stuff if you're basically practicing, okay, so it doesn't incur some cost. Thank you, and bye.